wonderful to be British. Good night.
The fellow in the forces was writing a letter from somewhere in the east. Talk of a blinking feast, he said, it's just like Blackpool sands. We play with hand grenades. If we had known, we would have brought along our buckets and spades out in the Middle East.
George was the first entertainer to join British and Commonwealth troops in the Middle East. That homely Lancashire voice became the perfect counterpoint to Churchill's drum-rolling oratory. And the troops knew that wherever Churchill went, Formby was sure to follow. He gave impromptu concerts wherever a stage could be thrown up. And where he went, Beryl went, stage managing as always. Close to the action, the famously diffident personality took on a new assertiveness. He was at ease with soldiers, and he didn't sing them sentimental songs. He gave them a salty whiff of home.
It may be sticky, but I'll never complain. It's nice to have a nibble at it now and again. Every day, wherever I stray, the kids all round me flock. One afternoon, the band conductor up on the stand somehow lost his baton, it flew out of his hand. So I jumped in his place and then conducted the band with my little stick of Blackpool rock.
During the war years, more than 3 million Allied troops were entertained by George Formby, and, whether they liked it or not, by Beryl.
Montgomery said, George, would you and Beryl come along when we do make the invasion? We said, certainly. Well, eventually he did send for us, and we made the invasion into Normandy with them also. Montgomery looked at me and said, of course, Beryl can't go. So I said, oh, yes. I said, in that case, George doesn't go either. He said, all right then, Beryl, if you want to risk your silly neck, you go ahead and do it.
My vest so short that it won't fit my little brother, and my new Sunday shirt has got a perforated rudder, Mr. Woo. What shall I do? I'm feeling kind of lime of Chinese laundry blues. Now, Mr. Woo.
We only did what every normal person should have done, and we did nothing wonderful, and we're very pleased to know that we were able to do it, and we'd do it again. God forbid if it ever happens.
As the days emerge, we are on the verge of the most exciting news. As a single voice, let us all rejoice. Goodbye to 1940 blues. There's a V formation of the foam, and another one over Rome. The democracy can never be free till the boys come marching home.
By war's end, George was a household name around the world, even in Russia, where he was voted their favorite public figure after Stalin. But George's first post-war movie was his last, for suddenly he was out of joint with the times. A new generation of film stars, aloof in their glamour, were elbowing him aside. Snobbery was back in fashion, and a more opulent kind of daydream. He was not forgotten, though. He was awarded an OBE for his services to the war effort, and the royal family, who were among his most loyal fans, invited him to perform at Windsor Castle. Queen Mary caused a stir when she insisted that George sing the uncensored version of Cleaning Windows, the number with the saucy lyric, which the BBC, in one of its periodic fits of prudery, had banned.
Pajamas lying side by side, ladies' nighties I have spied. I've often seen what goes inside without.
He took Cleaning Windows and a score of other best-selling songs with him on a world tour, organized by the resourceful Beryl. The songs and the movies had made George a legend in every corner of what was still called the Empire. In Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and South Africa, the Formbys were received like royalty. The man with a talent for being ordinary had a gift that traveled well.
Ordinary people.
1951, and George Formby was back in the big time, at home. For the first time, he'd cracked that most difficult of nuts for a northern comic, a West End audience, as the star of Zip Goes a Million, a stage show that mixed farce and musical comedy. It was a smashing success.
What extraordinary things we'll do.
But 6 months into the run, George had a heart attack, a bad one, and had to withdraw. The heart condition forced George into semi-retirement, and he was never a well man again. It also made him Beryl's house prisoner. She'd been his wife, manager and protector for 30 years. Now she was becoming his jailer. On his occasional public appearances, she kept him on an invisible lead.
And even a judge can go off the rails. That is, if the wife will let him.
I can get my hands right round there. That's the level.
When George made a celebrity appearance as a judge at a bathing beauty contest, this arch-fit and clowning with Beryl must have been uncomfortably close to the bone. George made tentative comebacks throughout the 50s when his health permitted. When he appeared on television with the Deep River Boys, he made a spirited attempt to accommodate the radical change in popular music.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll sing 3 choruses of a song that's at least 30 years old, and we'll prove that it's in the same tempo as the modern rock and roll.
Let's do it.
And the best of luck to you. Can we get in the groove first, eh? Right.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock.
Some of these days, you're gonna see honey. Some of these days, you're gonna miss your honey. You're gonna miss my hugging. You're gonna miss my kissing. You're gonna miss me, honey, when you're alone.
Now it was Beryl who was ill. Discovering she had cancer, she began to drink heavily and was soon sliding towards alcoholism. The Formby marriage, long presented to the world as a loving partnership, was in bad shape. When Beryl denied George the solace of the Roman Catholic Church, it was the last straw.
George said, Tom, you know, Beryl and I have finished. I couldn't believe it. It was one of those things where, rather like a man saying, look, a blind man telling you he's going to get rid of his guide dog.
In the end, George didn't leave Beryl. She was too ill. She lay dying in hospital even as the show was being recorded by the BBC. This was the show in which he thanked his wife for all she'd done for him. He also thanked his public for making him a star.
Turned out nice again, hasn't it? But then people say to me, how did you become a star? It's a daft question, isn't it? I mean, what do? We don't do anything. We don't become stars. You people make us stars. We wouldn't be any good without you. And any of our present stars today, if they ever believe anything different, they're crazy. I shall always be grateful to the public for what they've done for me.
2 days later, on Christmas Day, 1960, Beryl Formby died. Her faults were spectacular, but they sprang from excessive devotion to one man and one cause, her husband. Beryl had been dead for just 6 weeks when George shocked everyone, even his closest friends, by announcing his engagement to Pat Howson, a Catholic schoolteacher. When Beryl died, George had said to a friend, now I'll be able to have some fun. But there wasn't even time for that. 2 weeks after announcing his engagement, George had a final heart attack.
Everybody in Lancashire seemed to have taken the day off to pay their last respects to George, all the way from the church in Liverpool to the cemetery in Warrington. Crowds either side of the road. These people, remember, had seen him going past for years, and he waved to them from his Rolls Royce, and he was their pal, and it was the last time they'd seen him go past. And it was very sad indeed. But it was a great tribute, too, if you could separate the tribute in your mind from the sadness of the day. I knew that I'd lost something that was very important to me, and I cried like a baby, because I loved the man.
Eight-year-old Roy is the youngest member of the George Formby Society that was founded in 1961, the year Formby died. They gather in Blackpool every summer to remind one another and to prove to the world that the man and his music are not dead. That George Formby.
Ukulele in me hand, I ran along the road for Dr. Brand.